here we go. We're gonna glue it back on. There's our sides with all of our kerf linings on top, back, glued in as we saw in the previous videos. Those are all looking great. Now, one thing I like to do here is take a sanding block get everything smooth. Matter of fact, there's something just a hair high. I got just a bit of my side above my lining there. That feels good. That's all good. Right there, just a hair. So you can take your plane and pull that down. Good, good, good. So the rest of it's good. Okay, so I just sanded that to get rid of my little bit of glue sticking up, and get my linings and my sides feeling the same. Now, you're going to see some guys that are taking their radius dishes, putting sandpaper in all of it, and then sanding these sides in theory to take the same arch as we build into our braces. I don't have a dog in that fight. I don't do it. I don't think it's important. Whenever I've glued my backs and tops on and I look at it, they're always tight. I never feel like I'm not up against my linings here. It's such a small surface put up against here. Sandpaper. Certainly, I will. When I'm sanding, I'll bevel it just a bit, just as I'm going around it, just to make sure it's a little bit of a round on there. But again, I've never had any issues with this where I thought that was a problem. Now, in this particular guitar, I want to not let my braces through the side. I'm going to show you how to do that on the next guitar and certainly on the tops. But on this one, I often like to build without binding on my back. There's a certain softness to that I think is kind of interesting. So I'm not going to bind the back of this guitar, and so I've got to let my braces inside here, not coming through, which again I'm going to show you another one where we're going to let our braces through because we're going to put binding on the back of it. But in this case, what I've done here is, if you remember, I told you to put a little slice, you know, to come out away from your actual line for the size of your guitar, and put a little slice in there. And I make these little flags out of some pieces of wood that go right in the center where my form fits together. So that's my center line. And again, I put a little wedge in here on this guy to hold it tight. But then that then centers my center line. And I do the same on the back. I've got a flag for that. Put that in there, and then I center that. I sand this to a wedge edge that'll fit into that slot we did. And so this way you can keep it's a fairly simple way to keep your center line on point like you have. Now in this case, once I get everything in, and the other thing you want to do here is go around and feel that you've got overhang. You don't want to be off, like, I don't know if you can see that, but where you're not on there and you're overhanging too much here. You want to make sure this all feels good, that you've got plenty of overhang, so that when we come back and route that edge off, we got a nice edge without something without a mistake where we haven't covered something. If that should be the case, then we would come back and have to route a channel strip for our binding and clean that up by putting binding on it. But in this case, I don't want to bind this particular guitar. So what I do is I get all my two flags lined up. I feel all the way around here to make sure that I've got overhang. Again, I don't want it to be one side or the other. And in this case, I slide this off my bench and come up under with my first brace right here and mark that on both sides, which I already did a minute ago. And so with my marks, I come back now and cut and chisel off my excess here. And now when I come back and put this on, and I make these a little tight, but that fits right in there nice and snug on that. So now I'm going to do the same on my next two. And again, I want to make sure I've got plenty of overhang on this and everything's lining up, and I'll slide this off and mark it. Now I did that already on these guys. So you can see my marks where I had that. Now I'm going to come in with my, I can take my little saw and cut down into there a bit. And again, I want to just leave this a little proud. So I feel like I'm spreading my sides just a bit. That gives me the contour because of the way I marked that. I marked it right up against the sides. So it gives me that angle of how those sides are splaying out. And I'm just going to follow that. So I do most of that. I'm going to come back. I can pop some of this off now. Back in here and finish this up with my chisel. Alrighty, that looks good. So now see if we got these first two sitting in there good. Just a bit. Make that pop in there. I'm going to take a little bit off of both of them. I'm going to come back and take just a hair more off of here. In there. There we go. Good. Okay, so those are down. Now I'm going to do this next one same way. Come right up to my linings and mark that. Good, there's my marks. Just come down here. Again, if you're doing like this with your chisel Have your bevel side out because that depresses your wood a bit. Have your straight side down to give you a nice clean edge. Popped in, and it looks good. I'm going to mark my last one. Where my pencil was, there it is. The reason I like to not bind the back on guitars is that there's a certain old-timey sensibility to the look and feel of an unbound, you know, an old harmony kind of a feel, and I like that sensibility. Yes, that's good. I'm tight down all the way around. So there you go. Now, what I want to do first, though, is I want to taper these a little bit with my chisel just to make them a little more delicate as I get down here. I don't want them to be quite so thick as they are right here, right now. So I'm going to take these down just, again, to a point that I think looks relatively delicate. Okay, something else you want to look for is when we glued this lining in, the center lining, we didn't know exactly what we were up against here. So I did the same thing. I put my back on and I marked under my block so that I knew where I was at. This one's not hitting on the back side, it's fine. So now I'm just going to pop this little section off of there. And again, I don't care if this is tight up against that. I just want to be in the ballpark. Again, if I was doing CNC machining, everything would be perfect. But we're not. So this is going to be just fine. Sandpaper. Clean that up so you have a good area. Okay, I've got it situated on here. I'm able to lift this up now, just holding it with a few clamps, and check all my braces on the inside. They're all in right up against the linings. It looks good. So everything looks real good. I'm ready to glue this down. So I'm going to take these guys off. Leave that there. And then I'm going to just put my glue on all of this and start having at it. Everything's nice and smooth. So here we go. It's crunch time. Get a nice little bead, not too much, not too little. I like to just paint everything so it's all covered and wet with glue. My blocks in particular, I want to get those nice. One more right through here. And this block. good. Alright. So here we go. Line up my little flag here. And try and get everything to drop into place. Now this, I've got these cauls that I use, and I just use these with my cam clamps. So we can start in one corner. The reason I like for this to be this thickness is because when I put my cam clamps on, I'm clamping against the side. I don't have to put blocks or anything in there. So in other words, when I do this, I'm clamping right on my body at both points. So again, I'll put another caul over here. Actually, I like to leave a little room for a block that comes in there. Room for a block on that. So I'm going to redo this one. Look up in there with a flashlight. Okay, there it is. My back's, there it is, my back's glued on. So I'll leave that set for a few hours, and then I'm going to glue the top on. Maybe get that done here later today. Alright, just taking this guy out of the clamps here. Let's video this and see what we got when we're done. Leave all these four corners in for now. Looks very nice. Now we've got this, we've got a bit of an edge around here, which we're going to route off. And when I glue this top on, I'm going to want to push these rims out a bit here. They're tilting in a bit, so I'll put a spreader in there, something to keep those apart a bit. But otherwise, everything looks great. So there you go. There's our back on our first set of sides. Very nice. Okay, now I'm going to route. Okay, now I'm going to route for with a flush cutting bit and flush cut all this right to the form of the guitar. Now I made these pieces of foam core that just fold out like so. only reason for these guys is because this is a messy job, and this helps keep all the sawdust in, and then I can sweep it up easier. So that's what that's for. We're going to start here and route to this point. We're going to start here and route into this point. Start here and route to here. Start here into there, and then go anti-clockwise all the way around to finish up. And that minimizes the chance that your bit's going to grab the grain and break it out, which we obviously don't want to do. So that's the drill, here to here, here to here, here into here, here to here, here to there, and then anti-clockwise. All right, here we go. Alrighty, there we go. Nice. Now I can look at this and see how my non-bound back edge is going to look. I've got some gaps, which is not uncommon because maybe this side was down a little bit lower than the linings. Here we're going to put our wedge in there to trim that out. A little bit of a gap there, again, doesn't bother me because I know how to fill those gaps and make them all but disappear. So that all looks pretty good. I like it. So I hope you followed me this far. So I'm going to clean up this mess, and then we're going to take the top that goes on this guy. We're going to scallop the braces and get it glued down right here tonight. So that's going to go on like so. And there's your all mahogany Nick Lucas body ready to go put together. So I hope all that's making sense to you. Alrighty, I'm going to clean up and then we'll get back. Okay, I'm going to cut up some little strips that I'm going to use for liners on the side walls. These are just going to be little supports. I want my grain line to run at 90 degrees from the grain of the sides, so I'm going to cut these this way, and again they're going to be a ½ inch or something wide, and then I'll show you how I glue those into the sides here. So first thing, and this is just a piece of my leftover thickness of my top or back or something. It'll be plenty thick enough to be a little support for your sides. So I've set up a fence and I'm going to just run these through. I got a straight edge here. So I'm going to cut a bunch of strips. So there you go. Those will make nice little little supports that are going to get glued to the sides. Okay, so there's my strip, and I'm going to glue it right in here. So I usually put 3 of these, one a little past, one up in this upper bout, one right behind my waist, and then one back here in the bottom bout. So I'm going to take this first one. And again, I just eyeball these wherever I want to put them. Some people put them right above the brace, which is fine. I'm going to bring this in just a little bit, about like so. I'm going to take a pencil and mark that roughly. I'm going to cut that on my bandsaw. So I cut this first one. I made a mark, and it's just a little bit long. So I'm going to take it over to my, let's see, I'm going to take it over here. And then I'm going to put it on my disc and take it down. I'm going to try and fit it again. Still needs to go down a hair. I detailed these. I put a little detail on them with this machine. So I'm gonna go and put a flat here and a flat here. I'm gonna facet those 2 ends and then facet these edges. I hope you can see that's all nice and faceted, and then it fits right in there. Okay, let's move this back over here. So that's faceted. It fits right there. So I'm going to put that in with some super glue gel, which is the thick stuff, not the runny stuff. The thick stuff's what you always want to use on wood, and you don't want to be messy when you're putting this in, because if you slide around with a lot of super glue, it'll be hard to clean it off later. So you want to know kind of right where you want to be, and when you get there, you're going to just set it in like so. And then once that's set in there and tacks just a hair, then I just take one of my cam clamps and put on that. There we go. These are 1/4-inch dowels that I use as spreaders. This is going to hold my sides nice and straight as I get my top glued on. So they're just sitting there right now as spreaders. Alrighty, so I'm ready to do my next one. So I'm going to take another one of my pre-cut strips. I'm going to put this one I'm going to put it right on top of this brace because I like where it's at, just behind the waist. Oh, perfect. Fits right between my linings. I'm going to facet this. So there's my new faceted guy, and it's going to go right there. Perfect. Again, super glue gel. That's what you always use, wood to wood, not the runny stuff. We use the runny all the time for lots of other jobs, but not when we're just trying to glue wood to wood. There we go. There's 2 in. I'm going to put a 3rd one down in the lower bout there. On this side, I'm going to put a third one here. So I'm going to take one of these, one of my strips, measure it. It just needs a little to go. Super glue gel. Once again, there's my 3. Now I'll match those. These guys are easy because they're over the brace. This one I'm going to put up in just a little bit. So I'll just eyeball it to match those up. And I'll do that, and then we'll start talking about putting the top on. Okay, kids, if you like and use or find these videos interesting, educational, informative, or maybe just entertaining because you're up late at night, we'd love to have you support us. There's a few ways you can do that. One is click the subscribe button below. That helps YouTube know what we're doing and that we're serious about this. Also, you can hit that bell icon, which tells you when the next videos are coming out. We're gonna try and get at least one out a week now that we're up and running here. Also, a good way to support us is become a patron over at our Patreon account. And again, there's a link below for that. Patreon's a cool way that you can sign up and give, you know, $5 a month or $10 or whatever you feel is worth it. If you're using these videos to actually build a guitar and find it interesting and fun, please support us through Patreon. That's you know, I wish I could do this completely for free, but it takes money and time away from my other regular job. So, you know, it's a big undertaking, and any support you could send this way is great. So, you know, it's all been very fun so far for me, and I hope you guys are having fun at this as well, and we greatly appreciate all your support, so thanks.